So today what we're going to talk about is the beginning of the book, right? And this is going to be some of the stuff that most people have never even looked at, but it's good stuff to know for technicians, customers, supervisors, everyone all alike, right? So I'm going to use the MTS right here as kind of like our table of contents because the beginning of the books are essentially the same. All right, so I'm going to use the ATS right here to find these sections. All right, so that way we can use the MTS as a reference. So the first thing I want to talk about right here is going to be applicable references. Now we got general scope. We're going to skip by that. Not really worried about that. Let's go directly to the applicable references, right? Actually, I'll click on general scope. You see it's very short. Okay, so um, under the make sure that these are all set to the same width. So under the applicable references, here's all your references. Okay. How do I figure out why is IEEE 400.2? What is that for, right? Well, testing of shielded power cables. So VLF, right? So how do I find my VLF data when I'm doing tan delta or VLF? Right, bam, right here. Use this document. Okay. They tell you where they got all these numbers. So when you're doing your testing throughout your standard, make sure if you need to know how to reference or find something or customers asking more questions, this is where you point them to, or you pull it up and you show them. Okay. So there's that. There's a lot of references in here: NEMA, NFPA, ICEA, and just and even OSHA, really. So the next thing we're going to talk about is and we can scroll right by contact information. Not really worried about it. We want to talk about the testing organization, okay? And so the testing organization, and this is the same between the MTS and the ATS. There's no difference. Is that this should be a company, right? That is unbiased testing, professionally independent of the manufacturer. So if you've got a company making their own gear and doing NETA certified testing for you, that is not technically NETA certified testing. Okay. They can make their own gear. They can provide NETA testing in accordance with NETA, right? They can provide testing that follows a lot of the test procedures of NETA, but technically it's not NETA certified testing because they are the manufacturer and they're testing it. Okay. So this is supposed to be third party independent. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about. Oh, and let me be specific. We're not talking about if someone supplies equipment from another manufacturer. That other person, when they got it from Schneider, and then one company sells you it. They source it from Schneider. Schneider's the manufacturer. Okay, so that's different. Sourcing doesn't count. Next thing is test technicians, right? These should be full-time, regularly employed for testing services. These are not people that you just call in off the street half time. Those are not your test technicians. Those are not your NETA certified technicians. These people are full-time, regularly employed for testing. Okay. And then it's the testing organization's requirement to make sure that they are maintaining their own certification. Test technicians right here, if you want to find out what is your requirement for testing, how do I make level 2, level 3, level 4? This NETA ETT, standard for test technicians, is going to outline what all of your requirements, your job performance criteria, and everything is outlined in that book. So use that to your advantage. Next thing, owner's rep. Sales guys, if you are out there selling jobs, you should be telling the owners that, oh yeah, we could test all your low voltage circuit breakers, but I'm going to need all of your, protection settings. I need you to provide everything so that way I can identify what to test your breakers at. And when I get done, or your electromechanicals, right? How many people go out there test electromechanicals and you don't have previous settings, right? You don't have settings from the customer. You have settings out of the relay, right? You think you know what that time dial is set to, but it's halfway between 5 and 6. Maybe it's 5.5. Maybe it's supposed to be there. Maybe it's supposed to be at 5 and someone tweaked it a little, right? So get the settings from them. That's, this is provided by the owner. And technically you can't provide NETA certified testing if the owner doesn't provide you these documents. Testing organization, right? This is everything that a testing organization is required to perform. And one of these right here, written record of all tests. Okay. And we're going to skip by the safety and precautions for right now. that's not the point of what we're going into. And t- equipment calibration, right? Required to be every 12 months and NIST certified. 12 months right here and NIST certified. Okay. Must be traceable. If the customer says 6 months, fine, they're paying the bills. 6 months is still within 12 months, right? That means you're still making it every 12 months. All right. And that calibration label should be on the equipment. You got people, you say, we don't put the labels on the equipment because people beat them up, and so what we do is we maintain them separately. No, you tell your people to stop beating up the labels, or you put them in a spot where they can stop damaging your equipment and scratching up the label. But the label should be on the equipment, right? Mr. Customer, who you're working for, should be able to come over and look. Oh, hey, your meter's out of date, right? They should be able to do that. That's what it's there for. The next thing, test report. This is a big one. I could talk about this all day, but I'm not going to. The biggest things I want to talk about on here are they should include the settings, right? So if your guys are filling out reports in the field and your test reports come back with a lot of blank information, that means they're not doing their job. Okay? Hands down, they're required to, fill out the settings. Okay? Even analysis and recommendations are required on the report. Okay? And then the last thing for what's required, and not what I'm going to talk about, but the last thing that's required is a test decal right here, right? Customer pays for a test decal and a report. Okay. So this test decal is going to be white, yellow, or red. Okay. And yellow, what is yellow? Well, it just means that you're not going to mess with the fault detection and operation, but it could be a minor issue. We've got a loose bolt on here and I don't have the hardware, right? But that insulator's still in there and it's operating fine. It's just that it's missing a screw, right? But we're not messing with fault detection and operation. Okay, so if the trip coil's not working right, yeah, that's a red. I don't care. Okay, it won't trip. Okay, now the very last thing I'll say is that at the end of the day, when you leave and you perform your NETA certified testing, the customer only gets two things. They get an 83-page report or however many pages it is, and they get a test decal. So most of you have seen when you go in the back of the substation, you look at all the control wire in the back of the gear and you see, oh man, that all looks really nice. It's all tightly woven together and taken care of and trained out of the way, and it looks really pretty, right? And then you go to another panel and it's just a rat's nest all over the place. Well, what kind of work do you provide, right? Do you provide half filled out reports and illegible test stickers that you can't read, and the customer has no clue who provided the testing? Right here, test technician, or what day it was tested on, right? If you can't read the sticker, why do you even have it? It's practically void at that point. If you can't read the report, why are you even giving them a report? If it's halfway filled out, why did you even start filling it out if you ain't going to finish it? Okay. These are things I would gripe on as a manager, and I would make sure that people filled out all the spots on their report. If there's not a general contract order number, then fine, put NA. Okay. But you should be filling out the data. All right. So the customer gets, a report and a sticker on all their gear. 28 stickers and 83-page report, and they pay $80,000 for that, and it's barely even filled out for them. So I mean, have pride in your work. I know the customers can see the difference between when they hire one company and another. They can just look at the reports, right? They can tell who's devoted, who actually cares, and where their money's properly invested. So that's all I got. Hope you all have a good day, and maybe this will help someone.